Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I am your host, Dennis Patholkis, and this is The Boys, Season 1, Episode 1, The Name of the Game. And welcome, everybody. Before we get started here, I'm going to go over a little bit of business, and I'm going to talk about a contest as well. That's right. So, if you like what you see here in this video, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. If you don't like what you see here, you can hit the dislike button. I just ask you down in the comment section. Tell me what it is you don't like and give me a little constructive criticism, some feedback on that. You can also follow me by hitting the bell down below there as well. If you've already hit the bell, don't hit it again. It will unclick it. You can go into the bell notifications, get as many or as little notifications as you want. If you want to see when I'm going to be on live again next, my schedule is up at suspendedfanimation.com. It's also mirrored on my Facebook page for Suspended Fanimation, and that's where I also put all the news on there too, so you can always follow that there. I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, and I also have a Patreon page. I don't have the tiers put up yet for the Patreon page. So, yes, I know everyone's either finished this series or is in the midst of finishing it, that kind of thing. I am going to go episode by episode on this because there's a lot of shit to unpack in these things. So let's talk about the contest. The contest of the very last episode, that's going to be episode 8. When I review that, whoever comments down below in the comment section on episode 8 will be in the running for the grand prizes. There's 2 prizes. First prize is one of these little boys here, which was only at the excuse me, the premiere party, the fan premiere party. It says "fuck the soups" on the back there, and it's The Boys on the front there. So yeah, there we go. That is going to be prize number 1. Second place prize is going to be, and these ones actually might be a little bit harder to get, to tell you the truth. If you can see that there, if I can get that to focus on there, that is a coin from Amazon, the Amazon Prime experience. And this is the Boys one that I got here. And on the back here, it actually says Comic-Con 2019 and Amazon Prime experience. So that is going to be the second place prize, is going to be the coin. So basically, no matter how many times you comment and stuff like that on that final episode, you're only going to get 1 entry. And then I'm going to pick a name. First name is going to get the foam finger. Second name is going to get the coin. So there we go. And then, of course, I'm going to ask you for your address that you send it to me, and so I can send you the stuff. I did give you the finger, Stanley Tweedle. I really did. Have I watched the entire thing? No, Apple Crow, I haven't. I haven't finished watching it yet. I was actually starting to watch most of it, and I fell asleep last night. I want to say I was in the middle of episode 6 when I fell asleep. It was late. It was really late. I know that. I was like, oh, just one more. Oh, just one more. Oh, just one more. Yeah, that's right. The first person gets the finger. Second person gets the coin. Yes, you're reading Watchmen. Okay, Joshua. So, before we get started here, spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the shit out of the episode. If you have not watched the episode, go and watch it. Come on back. This will be a video you can comment down below in the comment section. So, thank you, Viking Bitch, for the paddle. I am not going to talk beyond episode 1. I don't want spoilers in the chat. No spoilers in the chat for people who may not have watched everything as of yet. We know there's some of you out there who have watched all of it. Don't spoil it for the rest of them. I am also not going to be comparing the comic book to the show because, again, that can spoil some shit. I don't want to do that. I may talk about some scenes compared, scenes in this episode as compared to the comic and how they might have differed a little bit, but that's about it. I am not going into specifics on that because, again, I don't want to spoil it for people. People actually want to enjoy this thing, and spoiling it is just a dick move, quite honestly. And I've had that happen before, and it's just, it's a shitty experience for everybody, quite honestly. Yeah. That's what you're doing too, Viking Mitchell. Just one more. Yeah. Yeah, I read the comics when they first came out, so I'm even hazier than you are on that, Viking bitch. I know what's there and what isn't, but yeah. All right, so let's get started. So we start off with two kids uh, talking about video games and superheroes, and how one superhero can kick another superhero's ass. Basically, they're talking smack like kids normally do. And they're crossing the street when they see this armored car. They hear like police sirens and all that stuff. We see this armored car out of control with police cars chasing it, and it's smashing up stuff, and it's coming right towards the kids. Basically, they're trying to get on the sidewalk, trying to get out of the way, and the armored car just seems to be veering straight for them. And we see Queen Maeve jump in front of it. She basically lands in front of the armored car, and the car just kind of crumples around her. She actually goes through the armored car to the back. It stops, and she opens up the back door, getting out of the back there. And some of the thieves come, out of that car. They're a bit dazed, but they grab the two kids and are holding them hostage. And she's smiling, and the thief's like, "What are you smiling about?" And we see twin laser beams come down out of the sky and start melting the gun onto the guy's hand. And down comes Homelander. He floats down. So the one guy who's got the gun melted to his hand screams in pain and drops to the ground. The kid runs away. The other guy's got the kid, holding the kid, and the kid runs, and Homelander just grabs him and tosses him into the air. And the kids go, "Hey, Homelander, can we get a selfie?" And he's like, "Sure." And so they go over to get a selfie with him. And just as he's walking over to get a selfie, we see the thief land like hundreds of yards away with a thud to the ground. So yeah, it was pretty nasty, pretty gnarly. Huey, in the meantime, is cleaning. There's a guy named Huey, and he is cleaning TV screens in the shop that he works at. And we see the news event of Queen Maeve and Homelander's rescue, of course. And we see him also just kind of working in there. He's selling audio video equipment, that kind of stuff. And he goes to talk to his boss, and his boss is like, "No, not now." He's okay, maybe in a few minutes I'll come on back. And we could see he's a pussy for the most part, is what you would call what another character who comes in later. Well, actually, he would call him a different word altogether. But Huey doesn't have any balls. Let's just say that he's very timid, very yeah. And so in walks this woman and says that she needs him to come by and lay some cable, and he knows who she is. It's his girlfriend, actually. He goes, laying cable does not mean what you think it means. He goes, you may want to be laying some pipe, because laying cable means you want me to take a shit. Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny, quite honestly. The having to differentiate between taking a shit and screwing. Yeah. Wow. So they go out to go get something to eat, and Robin, his girlfriend, asks him if he asked Gary, his boss, for a raise. And of course, he hasn't as of yet. And she's like, "Jesus, man, what the hell's going to take you to do this?" She goes, "I was the one who had to ask you out." And he goes, "Yeah, but I was working up to it," kind of thing. And she goes, "I want to actually move out, move into a place together and all this stuff. So, we can lay some pipe," as she puts it, "without having to sneak around and be quiet around your father." Yeah. No, laying cable does not mean sex with Josh Brolin. That is uh, something to do with cocktail weenies. So there you go. That's all you get, Apple Crow, on that one. So they're outside, and he's kissing her, and telling her that yes, he's going to ask his boss for a raise and all this stuff. And they're talking about their future together, and she has stepped off the curb, and he's holding onto her hands when suddenly this blast of wind comes through, and he gets splattered with blood on his face. And we turn towards where the blast of wind was going, and we see that Robin has been turned into a puddle of blood and bone. Basically, she's been ripped apart by a speedster, someone who is very super speedy, and has gone through her. And he stops. He's covered in blood as well, and he says, "I can't stop. I can't stop." And he takes off again running. And Hughie looks down and he sees that he's still holding on to Robin's hands. Up to about the wrists is where it cuts off. And he just starts screaming her name. And holy fuck balls. Yes, that was that was a bad. I mean, we knew that was coming. That was actually fairly similar to the scene in the comic. But yeah, it was just as bad as it was in the comic, quite honestly. Wow, I'm going to enjoy this cancel proof series. I don't know if it's cancel proof, Joe Greer. They have 2 seasons, but they have 2 seasons to show that they can, yeah. That whole slow motion explosion gross factor was up to 12, is what more. Yeah, it was pretty gnarly. I have to say that. So we cut over to Des Moines, Iowa. We see the alarm clock ring and this girl getting up and doing one arm pull ups. And then we see her punching the wall, like a brick wall of her house. And then also lifting up a car. She's got super strength. And that's what she's doing. She's working out for the day. And her mom, and by the way, her mom is played by Ann Cusack, which is John Cusack's sister, in case she looked a little familiar to you. I followed Anne. She's been in a lot of John's movies. And so when I saw that she was there, I'm like, hey, she's in a movie without John. This is amazing, which was kind of cool. So that was kind of nice. And but yeah, she's encouraging her daughter to punch the wall harder, to punch through the wall. And no, it's Anne. It's Anne, not Joan. It's Anne Cusack. So there's John, Joan, and Anne. So there you go. Yes, Anne usually gets the really, really small roles. And John and Joan are, of course, her more well-known siblings. Yeah, Anne's been in a. If you go back and look at John Cusack's movies, you'll see Anne in a little role in each one of them. Yeah. She is usually in John's movies. She really is. And she usually steals the scene when she's in it too. Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly why she looked like Joan. Because they all look alike. They're all from the same parents. So anyway, she is exercising, lifting up the car, punching holes through walls, things like that. And then we see her doing an audition tape for becoming a member of the Seven, is what it's called. And she tells the camera person to look away from the camera and basically cover over their eyes so she doesn't blind them. And she starts turning bright, and then we see this big bright flash and the camera topples over, and you see her kind of running over, go, oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay? And then we see her talking a little bit more about herself and how she did the whole Cape circuit, Little Miss Cape circuit, all that kind of stuff. And she even says, she goes, when I was asked during these circus things that they were going, basically these fairs, they were going to these county fairs, what she wanted to do, and that she wanted to save the world. She said all the judges would kind of, laugh and think how cute it was and things like that. And she goes, but since when did hopeful and naive become the same thing? Is what she asks. So yeah, that's her audition tape. So Hughie and his dad come back from Robin's funeral, and Hughie's dad, of course, is played by Simon Pegg, of course. And Simon Pegg originally was who Hughie was based on, drawing-wise, by Arctic Derek Robertson in the comic. So it was nice to see him play Hughie's father, at least. And yes, Jack Quaid, who plays Hughie, is the son of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan. So there you go. But yeah, it's they're sitting there, and Hughie's father is basically saying how nice of a service it was, that all those people showed up and it was a nice spread. And hey, why don't you come down and sit and watch TV with me? And he puts on the TV, and the first thing they see is the news and A Train, who was the soup that ran through Robin. And he goes, I'll see if I can find a movie. And Hughie's like, no, leave it. And A Train is apologizing to Robin's parents, doing a half-hearted attempt and saying that he was trying to stop a bank robbery, is what he says. Yeah, and that she was standing in the street. that Robin had been saying in the street. He's like, bullshit. She was a half a step off the curb. She was just off the curb. I was right there. He's lying. And his dad is trying to calm him down and basically telling him, he's sorry. He knows what he did and all this stuff. And he goes, come and watch TV with me. Remington Steele's on. And he's like, fuck this. And he gets up and walks out. Yeah. So Starlight, in the meantime, is monitoring the police scanners at her house with her mom and looking for crime. And it's a slow night, slow day. And her mom's saying, you know what? I wish there was some crime so we can get you trending again, kind of thing. And they get a phone call. And the phone call is that she's made the 7, that she is actually in on the 7 at this point. And they both scream with joy and that she's in. So Hughie, in the meantime, is trying to find out how to file a wrongful death claim because he knows that he can't file any charges against A-Train because A-Train was trying to stop a crime at the time. And you can't charge a superhero with a death of someone if they were in the middle of trying to stop a crime. So he's going to try and file a wrongful death suit as long as he can get Robin's parents on board. And his dad's like, no, wait, come here. There's one little thing I forgot here. So one of the things that happens is that he gets a visit from a Vought industry person. And the Vought industry person wants him to sign an NDA in exchange for $45,000 of what happened to Robin. And so he can't talk anything about what happened to Robin. And in his mind, he tells the guy to fuck off and get out. But outwardly, he tells the guy, can I think about it? And the guy leaves. So later on, we see him. He is actually trying to file a wrongful death suit for Robin and wants to get her parents in on it. And his dad pulls him aside and goes, look, he goes, $45,000 is a lot of money. And as he puts it, you are not a strong person. You don't have the fight in you. I don't either. He goes, I don't blame you. He goes, just sign the agreement and be done with it. And yeah, it was a pretty brutal scene, actually, watching that. It was almost as brutal. It's almost like him reliving this stuff all over again. And he, of course, does not want to sign this. And he walks out. And at one point, his dad says, why don't you sit and watch Remington Steele with me? And Hughie just storms out at this point. Starlight, in the meantime, shows up to the 7 HQ, and she comes out of the car, and there's a big crowd of fans waiting for her. And she goes, are they for me? And the girl, her handler, is like, yes, they are. Yeah. Don't worry about it. This is all for you, kind of thing. In the meantime, Miss Tillman is inside talking to the shareholders about how much they've been making and all of that. But the important thing is really of all the lives they're saving and all the good that they're doing. And they have a little video, of course, to show that about, a feel-good video, if you will. So she introduces the Deep. He comes out to the shareholders and he has a little announcement that Lamplighter is going to be retiring, but in her place, we're going to have Starlight come out. So he introduces Starlight to come on out and take Lamplighter's place. And she comes out to applause and yeah. And she's kind of a little bit overwhelmed by all of this as well. Hughie, in the meantime, goes to buy some beer and he sees A-Train's face everywhere, like all over all the packaging, stuff like that, and starts having a panic attack. And the guy behind the counter is asking him, are you okay? And you see him literally collapse and take down one of the shelves because he's just that much in a panic attack at this point. Starlight, in the meantime, is shown into the HQ by the Deep, who shows her that they have all these satellites that can spot a car license plate from 380 miles into space. And she goes, I just use a police scanner that I bought off of eBay. And she said, I always dreamed about standing here and I don't feel like I'm worthy of it. And he goes, yeah, we all felt that way at one point in time or another. He goes, you get used to it. And he said, she's looking at the chair that Homelander sits in and is kind of awed by it. And the Deep asks her if she wants to sit in it. And of course she doesn't. And then he says, oh, you probably had a crush on him. And she goes, well, no, this is kind of weird, but I used to have a poster on my wall of you when I was growing up, and I had a schoolgirl crush on you." And she goes, "It seems kind of childish now at this time." And she's looking at the screens at this point, and she turns around, and the Deep has his pants down and is stroking something, let's just say. And he says, "What? I thought, he goes, I'm not talking about sex or anything. I was thinking just a little bit of pole smoking," is what he says. And she starts storming out, and he goes, "Wait, wait, 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 wait." He goes, "I'm number 2 around here. I can get you kicked off the team just as fast as you got put on." And she's like, turns around, and he goes, "It's 3 minutes tops," is what he said. I mean, just a vile pig. And she decides to do this, which is not, yeah. It was a lot better than the original scene, which was more than one person, shall we say. And I'm really, really glad they kind of changed that, because that was the one scene I was really, really dreading, to tell you the truth, when they said that it was in there. And in the comic, yeah, it was a completely different scene. It's the same kind of scene. It's just a lot more horrific in the comic. It's still horrific, but yes, yeah. I agree with you, Viking Bitch. This one was a little bit more toned down. That's all I can say. Jeez. So he also says that basically, if she doesn't do it, that he basically will say to her that she attacked him and get her thrown off the team and destroy her career at the same time. All of that. And that's why she decides to do it. So we end up seeing Translucent on Jimmy Fallon talking about stopping a home invasion of a single mother and 2 children, which more than likely wasn't the case, but And we see this on the TV at Hughie's shop where he's working at. And this is when Billy Butcher comes in. And he's looking at one of the teddy bear nanny cams. And Hughie's trying to, of course, tell him about the nanny cam. And Butcher asks, he goes, "So how many, with his British accent that he's got, how many nannies shake their kids? Would you say 1% or less?" And this is the way that a Butcher kind of talks to people. He tries to do shock value for shock value's sake, to keep people off their guard so that he can get things that he wants. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that one. And he basically, he asks him, he finally tells him, he goes, "You know what?" He goes, "I know what happened to Robin." And he goes, "How do you know Robin? How do you know my name? And how do you know Robin?" And he goes, "Do you want to do?" He goes, "I think we should have a talk." So they're walking down the street, and Butcher is posing as a Fed at this point and says, "There's a lot of collateral damage that happens that isn't reported." He goes, "A lot like what happened to Robin." He goes, "It happens a lot more frequently than you think it does." And Huey's like, "No, that's not possible. We would hear a lot more about it." And he goes, "No, you don't, because of this." And he stops him in Times Square and shows him all the advertising. It's all superhero advertising. He goes, "Because it's of money. And also because people don't want to hear about it, quite honestly. They want to hear about the golden cunt," as he says, "that flies down out of the sky and saves them instead of them saving themselves," is what he tells them. And, you know, he's trying to sell Huey on this, that, superheroes are shitty, just as regular people are. And he says that he's there to spank the bastards when they get out of line. He goes, "Well, how can you do that?" And he goes, "Well, come with me and I'll show you." And Huey's like, "I think this is where we part ways," and Butcher talks him into coming with him and takes him to a small club where they get in. And this is where the superheroes can do a whole bunch of shit, debaucherous shit, without the paparazzi being present. So we see things like, drinking, screwing while floating in the air. We see this tiny guy that's probably about 6 inches tall, who's just wearing some underwear, and he goes running and jumps straight into, complete with sound, into between a woman's legs, shall we say. And then Ezekiel is the founder of Capes for Christ and Pray the Gay Away. And he is, as Butcher put it, the meat in a man's sandwich. So yeah, that's what he's doing there, and he can stretch. So yeah, very salacious scenes. That's all we'll say there. So they end up going to the security camera room and taking a look at footage from the night before, where A-Train was in there, and A-Train was talking about running through Robin and kind of joking about it, really, and laughing. So that whole thing, yeah, was just wrong. And you see Hughie getting pissed off. He's getting more and more pissed off as he's just laughing about it. And he's not happy about it. And Butcher asks him, he goes, "What are you going to do about it?" That's what he asks him. In the meantime, we see Starlight in the bathroom throwing up after the blowjob scene. And she comes out, and who's there but Queen Maeve, because it is, multiple stalls. She comes out of the stall, and Queen Maeve is there. And Queen Maeve just kind of looks at her and hands her a towel and says, "Clean yourself up." She goes, "You never want to let them see you looking like this." And then she turns towards the wall and goes, "And by the way, Translucent, you're a fucking pervert." And she walks out of the bathroom, and we see Translucent go visible, and he's completely naked, because that's the only way he can turn invisible completely, is if he's completely naked. And he kind of looks at Starlight, and he's like, and he walks out. Yeah. Yeah. Butcher, in the meantime, fills Huey in on, the soups. All the soups are assholes. They all have vices, except for Homelander. Homelander doesn't drink, doesn't smoke. No vices for that guy that they can find. And then he gives him a booklet and says, "Hey, this is the night of Robin's death, the day of Robin's death. These are all the police reports that happened. There's not a single bank robbery in the bunch. There's not even a bank alarm that went off." And he says, "Yeah, so I want to know what the hell was in that bag that he was carrying, and why he was running so fast, what he was running to, or what he was running from." And Huey wants to know as well. And Huey says he'll help. So Butcher tells him, call Vought, tell him that you'll sign the papers, but only if A-Train is there to apologize in person. And they said what they'll do is they'll take you to the 7 Tower, the HQ, and he wants, you'll plant a bug, and then we'll have a listen to what's going on. And Huey's like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. That's like James Bond kind of shit. He goes, yeah, exactly. And he goes, listen, he goes, the top music I listen to, number 1 is James Taylor. Number 2, Simon and Garfunkel. Number 3, Billy Joel. He goes, those are not people that infiltrate places. And he was like, nope, I'm out. And he gets up and walks away. So Stillwell, in the meantime, is meeting with the mayor of Baltimore, and to talk terms about having a hero. As she's saying, Baltimore's crime is up quite a bit, to the point where they almost need a federal lifeline, just how bad it is. And she goes, well, for $300 million a year for 3 years minimum, we can have Nubian Prince moved over to Baltimore. And he goes, wait a minute, Nubian Prince, I thought he was in Detroit. He goes, yeah, well, we can, make a deal and have him come over there. And he goes, well, $300 million is too much. I was thinking more like $200 million. And also $200 million. And I don't tell anybody about Compound V. Compound V is something that could be really damaging to you guys, is what he tells Stillwell. And he says, I'll stay quiet about it if you give me Nubian Prince for $200 million, and that'll work. And she goes, she says, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what Compound V is. She goes, and the price is $300 million. And by the way, Atlanta is waiting in the wings as well, because they want Nubian Prince. Starlight is talking to her mom on the phone. She's trying to tell her mom about what happened, and her mom is really just thrilled that she's part of the 7 and wants to brag about it to her friends. And she, of course, can't get through to her mom, and so she hangs up. And she's sitting on a park bench, and she happens to be sitting right next to Huey, who's eating his lunch. And she starts sobbing a little bit, and he asks her what her problem is, if it's work related or life related. And she goes, work. And he goes, yeah. He goes, because he has his problems too. And she asks him, and he says it's life related. And then she dumps everything on him at this point, and doesn't say it in detail. She just gives him some vagaries of some stuff there. And as he puts it to her, he says, just because he says, I knew this girl once that we used to go skating out in Rockefeller Center. He goes, I used to hang on to the rail with a death grip. He goes, I wouldn't leave the rail. She would go out there and go and skate out in the middle. And she wasn't very good. She'd fall on her ass all the time. And she said, she used to say to me, excuse me, just because you fall on your ass doesn't mean you have to stay there. And then he asks her, who are you? Because, Starlight was saying that she is this badass. She always thought of herself as one person, but she goes, have you ever thought about yourself? You've seen yourself as being one person, but really there's something that happens that makes you realize that you're some other kind of person. You see yourself in a different light. And she goes, that's what happened to me. And then he asks her, who are you, after telling her that? And she's like, I'm a badass. She goes, I'm going to go in and rip that guy's head off, kind of thing. He's like, okay, you're getting a little scary now, but yeah, right attitude. And so he introduces himself as, Hughie, of course. And she introduces herself as, Annie. He doesn't recognize her at all because, of course, he's been kind of caught up with Robin's stuff and not watching the news. Yeah. So we end up having Hughie coming back to the butcher and saying that he's in, and he calls Vought in the bathroom there at the bar that butcher is at, and saying that he will take the money as long as A-Train is there to apologize. And he goes, wait. A-Train already apologized, what the agent says. And he says, well, it's either that or I don't take the money. I don't sign the NDA. And he goes, I think we're done. And he hangs up. Basically, the guy hangs up on him. And Huey's like, well, I don't think they're going to take the deal. And Butcher's like, yeah, they'll take the deal. Trust me. They will take the deal. Starlight goes to her first meeting with the Seven, and she's almost late. And Homelander calls her on it and says, oh, you're almost late for your first meeting. And the Deep makes a blowjob joke, actually. And she sits across from him looking at him and retorts back, and actually her eyes glow just a little bit, like she can kill him right then and there. And they kind of brush it aside, and Homelander wants to get down to the meeting, of course, but Translucent wants to talk about all the merchandise that's been pirating and how much money they're losing. And Homelander steers the meeting back to what people they've saved that week, and just goes around the table as to who saved who. Butcher, in the meantime, gives Huey the bug, and he gives him a whole bunch of instructions about how to get through security, plant the bug, all this kind of stuff. And Huey's like, that's not easy, man. And he starts panicking. And Butcher ends up, telling him, trying to give him an analogy about the Matrix, about the blue pill and the red pill, fucks it up completely. And still leaves him where he's at, confused with a bug, trying to get into the 7 tower and to plant this in their meeting room. And as he puts it, Butcher tells him to quit being such a cunt and just to get in there. So Huey goes into the 7 tower, walks through security, has his phone looked at because the bug is in the back of his phone case. Gets inside to the meeting room. Before he can excuse himself to go to the bathroom, in walks A-Train, and he starts having a panic attack again. And A-Train, actually, we see through his panic attack, A-Train asks him, are you okay? And suddenly Huey clears right up. He goes, yeah, I'm fine. He goes, I accept your apology. Thanks. Let me sign the papers. And A-Train leaves, and he asks the guy, can I go to the bathroom? And so he goes into the bathroom, pulls out the bug, and drops it on the floor. He's, of course, in the big communal bathroom. Who walks in but Starlight? Huey's in the stall, luckily, when he drops this, so he doesn't see her. And he can't pick up the bug off the floor. He has to wait until she leaves. Then he picks it up off the floor and hightails it out of the bathroom and plants it on the table. Inside the bathroom, of course, is Translucent, who has seen all of this and says, what the fuck was that? Yeah. Oh my God. So Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen now at this point. He walks out and tells Butcher. So Hughie walks out, tells Butcher, he was right. Fuck the soups. Fuck A Train. Fuck them all, kind of thing. And Butcher drops him off at work. And Huey's like, wait, well, what are you doing? He goes, you did your job. He goes, that's all I needed you for. And Huey's trying to convince him. He's like, I can do more. He goes, I could be the guy on the other end of the phone there telling you to go left, to go right, that kind of thing. I could be the guy in the van. And Butcher's like, yeah, I'm sure you could. But thank you. And, see ya. And before he leaves, Huey says, hey, have you ever seen an asshole rip up 45K? And he pulls out the check and just rips it in half. Yeah. And Butcher, commends him a little bit and then takes off in his beat up Cadillac. Stillwell, in the meantime, calls the mayor of Baltimore and says that they'll give him the Nubian Prince for $230 million. But if he utters any kind of rumors about Compound V, it could be considered libel because it's not true, of course. Yeah. So Huey's at work, and we see on the TV that they're talking about letting soups in the military, that Congress is talking about letting soups come into the military to do military actions around the world. Yeah. And his boss leaves, and we see the door shortly after his boss leaves. We see the door open again and then close without anybody there. And Huey is looking around. He's like, what the? And then he hears a voice. He goes, so who are you? And he's like, what the fuck? And he goes, I'm right in front of you, asshole. And it's translucent. And he's got the bug. And he says, who do you work for? And he drops the bug. He goes, why'd you plant this? And he pulls Huey over the counter, smashes his face into it first, pulls him over the counter and starts beating the shit out of Huey, throwing him up against the wall, throwing him against the window. And he goes, you know who we are? We're the fucking Seven. We're the saviors of the world. And he pulls the TV out of the wall and is holding it above his head. And remember, he's naked and invisible at this point in time, when all of a sudden Butcher's car comes flying through the front glass window and hits Translucent, knocking him all the way back into the wall. Butcher gets out of the car and tells Huey to make a run for it, while he's got a crowbar in his hand. And he's like, I'm going to take care of this cunt, as he puts it. Goes over there and just, he's going to try and beat the shit out of Translucent, but Translucent isn't where he landed. And he hits Butcher, knocks him down, and they start fighting. And Butcher's getting the worst end of this, but he spits some blood on Translucent so you can see him. And he gets the shit kicked out of him. He's down for the count when Translucent standing over him. Huey has snuck back in at this point, and Translucent standing over Butcher, and he goes, I'm going to beat you to death, man. He goes, what the fuck are you doing? Who are you? And Butcher sees that Huey is behind him and has the frayed power cord from the TV that Translucent ripped out of the wall. It's a live power cord. And of course, Butcher makes a pithy little comment about how he's going to be fucked. And Huey goes to pull the electrical cord and it won't go any further. So Butcher kicks Translucent back into the cord and he electrocutes him and he falls down to the ground. And Huey's like, oh my God, we got to call somebody. We got to call the cops or something. You're a Fed. He attacked us. And that's when Butcher comes clean and goes, I don't work for the feds. He goes, I'm not a cop. And he's like, holy fuck, what the hell are we going to do? And he goes, we're going to put him in the boot and we're going to get him out of here. Because otherwise, they're going to be down on us fairly quickly. And Huey's panicking at this point. Yeah. So then we see the mayor of Baltimore flying in his plane with his son. And he had gotten a signed picture from Stillwell of Homelander had signed it for him and all that stuff for his son. And they're hitting some turbulence and everything. And he's telling his son not to worry. And his son looks out the window and sees Homelander flying alongside him. And the mayor of Baltimore looks out there and goes, what? Why is he here? And we see him kind of fly ahead of the plane and he lasers the plane in half with his eyes. And the plane falls out of the sky. And that's where we end off with episode 1. So yes, uh, damn, that's all I can say. It was a really good first episode. Very, very cool. Won't Dennis sound like a chipmunk? Maybe. At 2 times speed, I probably will. Yeah, Psycho Bastard Homelander. So damn good episode. That's all I can say. Anthony Greenslade says, I didn't realize the whole season 1 of The Boys is available. I'm going to binge watch it all tomorrow. Oh my God. Yeah. Compound V is a generic equivalent of Spacebonium. There were trademark and copyright claims by Fonobi Industries. Spacebonium, by the way, is already part of Futurama works, in case you didn't know. Yeah. And it's a disease. It is not a compound. So there you go. Joker the Third says the reviews are so. Plus, it mentions Night Flyers and another sci-fi show. I can't remember right now. Actually, Joe Greer, this is really good. It's not shitty at all, this show. And Night Flyers, I couldn't get through the first episode. That was just a horrible, horrible show. Just bad. Kiljani Golkosh says, I haven't read the comic yet. They did controversial, edgy stuff without it being edgy cringed. Yeah, they lightened up the tone on a few things and changed out. So Garth Ennis is known for being, how shall we say this? Well, he's not PC, that's for damn sure. He's a bit sexist sometimes, at times, I should say. And can be a bit misogynist as well. So they toned down some of those aspects of that, kind of flipped a little bit of some of the things to the current climate, I guess you could say, without being preachy about it, but bringing it up to today's morals, I guess you can say, without being overtly over the top about it. Yeah. That's about all I can say without going into specifics. Yeah, I am not talking about that person because that person hasn't shown up as of yet. Yes, and I'm not going to talk about what Compound V is because we haven't found that out as of yet. Stanley Tweedle says, the sister of a friend of mine works on the South African production of Warrior. Hey, nice. It's pretty cool. Let's see what else we've got here. The Deep is such an ass. Yeah, he is, Viking bitch. He really is. And yeah, they try to make him like a poor man's version of Aquaman, which I thought was pretty funny. Yeah. What else do we have? Joe Greer the Third. I missed the blast off earlier, but I watched and left a good comment. I have a whole lot of movies that I want to rapid fire to Dennis and get his opinions about. Oh my God. Should send an email, man. Really. I mean, unless you want them to be public, it's. Yes, I heard somebody said I lost my nerd credit. Oh, there we go. Movie Fanobi says, Joe Greer, it would be fun to have Dennis rapid fire movie opinions to risk his nerd cred. Supposedly, I burned my nerd cred already at Saturday morning blast off here. So, I'm incapable of tearing up a check for $45K. I would cash that check. Yeah, exactly. I am not afraid to risk my nerd card because I am secure in my nerdness. And yes, I like what I like. I don't like what I don't like. It's plain and simple. Yeah. I burnt my nerd cred card today, is what Stanley Tweedle says. Yes. What else do we have here? Mufinobi, yes, I saw a little SBO today and heard the nerd cred terms. I defended him and chastised him at the same time. Nice. I also enjoyed blood splatter like Mortal Kombat. Yeah, the special effects in this were pretty good. Especially, I liked the whole thing with translucent being Well, the other thing I thought was kind of funny was Butcher calling him out on his name, Translucent. He goes, translucent means semi-transparent, you cunt. He goes, doesn't mean invisible. And that's when he kicks him back into Hughie. Yeah. But let's see here. What else? Does Homelander run for president? Can't say. Tamarox, I feel the way the Seven are shown in this show is how heroes would end up in our world. Cynical, money grubbing, only caring about their reputations. Yeah. It's essentially anybody who has any kind of fame. And that is what I am liking about this is they are showing superheroes almost in the same vein as you would movie stars, TV show personalities, all that kind of stuff. Anybody who has any kind of fame to them and kind of how fame corrupts. Hey, Sasha, I didn't even see you were in here. Doing the wrong thing for the right reasons was his MO. Okay, so they're making fun of DC heroes. I didn't see a Marvel equivalent in this episode. Actually, Nubian Prince was supposed to be Black Panther, Morks. Yes, Homelander is supposed to be the Superman equivalent. Queen Maeve is supposed to be Wonder Woman. The Deep is Aquaman. But Black Noir is supposed to be kind of Batman, and there's another Marvel character too. I can't remember. God, I'm blanking on it now. But yeah, so it's kind of a mix of things. But yes, it is DC heavy quite a bit. But yes, they do make fun of some Marvel stuff as well, especially as we go a little bit further along, I should say. Moon Knight, yes, Moon Knight a bit of Moon Knight, but there's also another character, and I can't remember. He's from the same group as Hyperion, and I can't remember what his name is at the moment because my brain is. It's hot here right now, and so my brain is pretty much useless. Yes, Homelander is a mix of Superman and Captain America. You're right, Stanley Tweedle. Let's see. And why he wears a mask like Overkill. Yeah. Yes, I am secure in my nerdness. And I that should be my new I guess the another t-shirt line is secure in my nerdness. Yes, Garth Ennis does not like superheroes at all. He despises superheroes. If you read the Punisher run that he did, he shits all over superheroes. Yeah. Yes, A-Train is the Flash or Quicksilver. Actually, he's closer to Quicksilver than he is the Flash, because Quicksilver is slower than the Flash is. Nighthawk, thank you, Apple Crow. Yes, Nighthawk. Yes, that is it, Nighthawk. Thank you. It wasn't gonna really bother me because I kind of forgotten about it, but yes, that was the right one. It's one of my sister's favorite words. Also, unfortunately, Mom hates it. Apple Crow says Plutonian, Hyperion, and Homelander walk into a bar. Yeah. And yes, Homelander is a lot like Hyperion. I will say that. Sasha Gardner says that's one of the things that made me like Dennis. He was so non-giving of fuck and such a nerd. I was like, who is this non-fuck giving nerd? Yes, that is true. That is how I am. Just the way I ended up. But can you swallow genre fluid? I don't even want to know what the hell genre fluid is, Movie. I really don't. Yeah, that just sounds right. Wrong. Right? Wrong? I don't know. Pen Farm Girl says, is Starlight like Dagger from Cloak and Dagger? Yeah, she is. Yes, she is. Supposed to be kind of like Dagger. There is something a little different about her than from the comic as well, which I haven't gotten through the whole series yet. So I'm not going to say anything until I go through the whole series. But power set wise is what I'm going to say. And I'm wondering if they're going to bring it in or not. They might. Oh, one of the other things too that they mention is when Huey gets in Butcher's car and he looks in the back seat and goes, "Do you have a dog?" And he goes, "No." He's got a whole bunch of shit in there in the back for a dog in the back seat, which, yeah, there's a character that's missing that I wish was there. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's glad we don't have that character in. But yeah. Mufinobi, Dennis is a nerd that gives no fucks. Damn, I always thought nerds sought after fucks and would risk any chance except the original Star Wars action figures. Yes. Future Man is awesome, by the way. If you have not seen Future Man, go and watch Future Man. I have covered seasons 1 and 2, and I'm going to cover the last season, season 3, when it comes out. Because it's honestly, it's, if you have any love of science fiction, especially from the last 4 decades, it covers everything in science fiction. It really does. Every single trope, and is funny to boot on top of all of that. And has great acting, has a great plot line. It's everything all in a nice, neat bow. It really is kind of almost a perfect show in a way. So there you go. Yeah, I think we do need that, Viking bitch. I think we do need to have something like that. Not maybe everything, but maybe every other thing. uh Viking bitch, did you read any of the comics thinking about Tech Knight? Oh god, Tech Knight. Wow. Cameronium, yes. Cameronium. Future Man is the Cameronium of sci-fi shows. It really is. Sasha Gardner, I'm out of my element. I don't know anything you're talking about. Yeah, I'm sorry, Sasha. This goes nerd deep on this one. If you haven't watched it yet, I highly suggest. Well, I don't know, Sasha. You might not like this show, to tell you the truth. I know you, and I'm 80%. No, I would say 60% sure you're not going to like this show. So, yeah. Mufinobi says, "Have a lovely weekend, Chucklefuck friends. Looking forward to the boys." Yes, it's hard to say anything about the boys without sounding dirty and a little suspect. Oh, I already made my boys jokes on Swamp Thing, Mufinobi. If you went back and watched that, I did. Oh yeah, Sasha would love Future Man. Future Man is right up Sasha's alley. But the boys is something that I'm pretty sure I'm kind of sure you're not going to really enjoy it that much. But Future Man is awesome. That I could say, yeah. Stanley Tweedle says, "We don't mind you not knowing about something. We only give Dennis shit for his opinion." Well, of course, everyone gives me shit for my opinions. So you know this, Sasha. And yes, Future Man is hilarious. The episode on James Cameron alone is worth its weight in gold. It really is. There is just so much goodness in that one episode. Just that one episode. That's worth it. And Dennis hates everything except Lego movies. I only liked one Lego movie. That's all it was. And it's the one by Lord and Miller. I mean, it's Lord and Miller. Come on. Tamarack says, "I will add Future Man to my watch list. This many people recommending it. I'm sold." Yeah. Trust me, if you don't get hooked on the first episode, you're not going to get hooked at all. I like season 1 of Future Man better than 2, but it's still a good show. Yeah. Season 1 was better than season 2. I'll admit that, but it still was good. Yeah. There is a typical cameo in this series. Oh, nice. Apple Crow says, "Seeing this version of the boys gives me hope for a decent Leave Extraordinary Gentlemen." I doubt it, Apple Crow. I wish that Jean-Claude Van Johnson had caught on, but yeah, Amazon said no to that. I think if they had made it now, considering it seems like that Amazon is just basically giving every Amazon show a second season, whether it's good or not. And a lot, like we have The Expanse, season 4 hasn't even come out yet. They've already given it a season 5. Carnival Row season 1 hasn't even come out yet. They've already given it a season 2. They've already given another season, a second season here to The Boys as well. So yeah, I think they're just giving them all 2 seasons and then letting the chips fall where they may at that point. Damn, that's the one platform I don't have. Hulu is what you're talking about, Sasha. You can always sign up for the 7-day free trial, and you can burn through the 2 seasons pretty easily. So, yeah. Without spoilers, they kind of have to give Boys a season 2. Yeah, they do. Apple Crow. I understand. Will Carnival Row be good? I couldn't tell you, Stanley Tweedle. I have to watch it first. Yeah. Oh, she comes over. She invites herself over, Penn. Don't worry about that. Yeah. See, exactly. There we go. Sasha even said she usually invites herself over. Yeah. Yeah, she was usually giving me shit about Pepper eating her sweater that she ate when she was a puppy. She bit a little hole in her sweater like when she was a puppy, 6 years ago. And I never heard the end of it. So there we go. Show her episode 1 and she'll be subscribing for more. Yes. Fucking sweater eater. It was a small little hole. You couldn't even see it. I'm not answering that, Viking bitch. I'll let her answer that. How about that? There you go. Not Pepper. Does Sasha approve of the... It's not bigger. It's the same size TV. It's just a bigger resolution, a better resolution, I should say. Yeah. Hulu also does The Venture Brothers and Futurama. Yeah. Everyone does Futurama. Futuramas are pretty much everywhere. She literally ate 2 inches off one end of the sleeve. She did not eat 2 inches off the sleeve. God, I'm not going to argue about that one. Even Pepper's being restless over there going, I didn't fucking eat that much of it. She remembers. I'm not even going to touch that one, Joe. So with that said, if you like what you see here, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. And if you're still on the fence about joining up, you're going to see a video pop up here. It's going to take YouTube is going to look at your algorithms of everything you've watched and pull a video out of my vast video library and pop it straight up here just for you. Up here is going to be Saturday morning blast off that happened this morning. You're going to get to see there. If you want to see when I'm going to be on live again next, you can hit the bell. If you've already hit the bell, don't hit it again. You can go into the bell settings again, as many or little notifications as you want. You can also go to suspendedfanimation.com and take a look at my schedule. My schedule is up there. Next up is going to be Monday, Legion. It's the final season of Legion. I'm covering that. Wednesday is Krypton, or as Lobo likes to call it, Craptown. Thursday is the final season of iZombie and the final episode of iZombie. Friday is the final episode of Swamp Thing, and that's it. Swamp Thing is done on Friday. And then, of course, we go back to Saturday with Saturday Morning Blast Off and episode 2 of The Boys. There we go. Hey, Battle Marcus, you came in just at the end. The new TV is better. Yes, it is. And Tiny Lobo with, yes, Craptown. Tiny Lobo. Yes, Legion is awesome. So, to reiterate, what's going to happen on the final episode of The Boys here is when I review episode 8 of season 1, you leave a comment down in the comment section of that video, First prize is a foam finger from Comic-Con 2019 from the boys, from the fan premiere party. It says fuck soups on the back there. Yes, it's a big middle finger. So the first person, the first prize winner, gets the finger. The second prize person will get, and this is from the Amazon Prime experience, this is the boys coin from the Amazon Prime experience, which has Homelander flying with some beams coming out of his mouth, or eyes, excuse me. And it says the boys at the bottom there. It's kind of hard to see because, of course, my camera is still trying to focus on my face rather than the coin. And on the back there, it says Comic-Con 2019. So that is the second prize winner. You can comment as many times as you like. You still only get one entry. Yeah. I mount lots of things to the wall. B-jar. Yep. And, oh, you're taking off, Mufinobi? All right. Let me see what else did I miss when I was doing all my stuff there. Keep YouTube away from my algorithm. Thank you very much. And all right, I think that's it there. Everyone's, wow, I had a little bug floating around there. With that said, I'm gonna let you guys go. I will see you all on Monday for Legion. Yes, I am leaving EJAR because I've already been at this for an hour, which is as long as the episode, quite honestly. So I need to go. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for everyone who joined me in the chat today. It was a lot of fun. I'm going to go episode by episode with this one because it's just a lot of fun. Thank you if you made it through this video all this time and are confused about what the fuck I was talking about half the time with people in the chat who have a lot of inside stuff with me, a lot of inside jokes and things like that. Come on by sometime in the chat. It's always a lively group of people. And again, you can see that on suspendedfanimation.com when I'm going to be on live next. So thank you, everyone. And don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may end up having to go through some initiation rites in order to stay in the 7. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.